José Aldo is most commonly known for being the victim of Conor McGregor's 13-second featherweight title fight knockout back in 2015. However, that fight was a testament to McGregor's quality rather than a representation of Aldo's. Aldo was sniped unconscious by the best counterpuncher of all time, as he was in the process of throwing a left hook that snapped his head back and cut him open. If you fight 30 times across a 20-year period in two of the most talent-stacked weight classes in MMA like Aldo did, it's highly likely the variance will come to bite you at some stage, no matter who you are. That's the nature of the sport, and there's no shame in falling victim to it. Prime Aldo was the most skilled defensive fighter of all time. He combined footwork, guard work, head movement, clinch defence, takedown defence and bottom work, unlike anyone else in MMA even to this day. Aldo never had great cardio, but this didn't matter most of the time because he used his defensive skills to control the pace of his fights. Most elite fighters nowadays try to deny their opponents time and space to work, so they're less likely to get hit by them, but Aldo is different in this sense. Aldo typically stood just at the edge of striking range, waiting and letting his opponents choose their own demise. If they tried to retreat, Aldo would pressure them and probably hurt them. If they tried to pressure and hit Aldo, they would probably miss, and if they missed, they would probably get hurt with counters. This is how Aldo controlled the pace of most of his fights. His opponents were heavily discouraged from initiating attacks on him because he would usually shut them down and hurt them whenever they did. Aldo is similar to Floyd Mayweather from a defensive perspective. He had really strong fundamentals and a built-in automatic response to nearly everything that could come his way, so the amount of information he had to consciously think about when defending was relatively small. This made it a lot easier for him to adapt and defend against different fight styles. Aldo's footwork was the base of his defensive game, and he couldn't ask for a stronger base. He'd follow his opponent's centre line with his lead foot in a tight stance and take lots of short, measured steps to nullify their lateral movement. This made it hard for them to cut him off with pressure, create angles of attack on him, land clean leg kicks and secure takedowns. Another footwork tool Aldo often used to nullify pressure was pivoting, which is still to this day one of the most underused tools in MMA. If Aldo's opponent threw a linear strike or combination, he would slip a roll under it, step outside with his lead leg and pivot towards the centre of the octagon. Not only would this force his opponent to reset, but it would create a favourable angle for Aldo to counter them from, and as a result discourage them from throwing linear strikes again. Aldo paired his elite footwork with elite guard work and head movement. His upper body defensive reactions were quick and extremely unpredictable because of how often he alternated between using slips, dips, pulls, rolls, parries and frames to avoid strikes and counter. Not only was Aldo's defence borderline impenetrable on the feet, but he was every grappler's kryptonite matchup. He fought an abundance of high-level wrestlers and jiu-jitsu fighters throughout his career, and yet none of them could reliably take him down and hold him there or submit him. Aldo's position on the feet meant that his opponents would mostly shoot takedowns on him from unfavourable angles, and if they got in on a takedown attempt, Aldo would typically pivot his rear hip away while whizzing and either pushing the head down or framing it away. The pivot of his rear hip would deny his opponent a chance to secure a double leg takedown, so they would be forced into either bailing or committing to a single leg instead. If they committed to the single leg, Aldo would violently push their head towards the canvas and rip his leg out from under them. If they pressed Aldo back against the fence and tried to take him down from there, he would quickly and aggressively grab and control their bicep or wrist to prevent them from locking their hands together around him and finishing the takedown. On the rare occasions Aldo was taken down, he would be extremely explosive and active off his back. Before his opponent would even have the chance to settle on top of him, Aldo would be springing his hips up off the canvas and scrambling like his life depended on it. The only exception to this was if Aldo was content with running down the clock and conserving his energy by lying on his back. Aside from McGregor, the only fighter to beat Aldo anywhere close to his prime years was Max Holloway, who was the only featherweight at the time with the skill, durability and cardio to overwhelm Aldo with output. Aldo landed counter after counter in both their fights and even wobbled Holloway at one point, but it didn't matter in the end because Holloway just ate everything Aldo threw at him and kept throwing feints and strikes until Aldo was too exhausted to react and defend himself sufficiently. As with the McGregor fight, those two fights were simply a testament to Holloway's quality, and they were also a reminder that there's a kryptonite matchup out there for every fighter in MMA history, and that's exactly what Holloway was for Aldo.